Hey guys, good morning. It's a Sunday morning and I got a lot of stuff I gotta do, and I'm sick and tired of this crap right here. This is my box. For a long time I've had my Clecos in this, and the Cleco clamps, and then the different size Clecos. So what I'm gonna do this morning, and then these guys too, a whole bunch of different sizes. And I also carry the butt welding clamps in here also. And then my deburring tool. So what I'm gonna do is this morning, I'm building a rack, something that I can carry around and put some magnets on it. So if I'm working on the side of a car, I just stick it right to the side of the car. Each one of the Clecos will have holes right here for different sizes. And then that way, I'll be able to set the Cleco pliers in there. And that's what I'm building right now. And how I formed this is I just drew the shape that I wanted. You can see where I was beating in the beater bag, and I'm hammering this shape out right here. And then I'm also using the shrinking stump. You see all the hammer marks right here. I've been beating the crap out of it this morning. This smaller radius right here is the one I've been using, and I've had this stump for years. I've used it a lot, and it's really nice to get a real deep stretch in some metal. And like I said, you can see I stretched it out right there. And most of it was done on a shrinking stump and then taken over to the beater bag so that I could, clean it up or whatever. And then I take my hammers and really nicely, knock all the dents out. And then what I do is I take it and put it on the post dolly, and I start hammering this out. I put it over the top of this and use this as the dolly from the backside so that I can, keep smacking on it. But as I'm going along, I'm gonna run this in the Planishing hammer real quick, and then as I go along, I'll film a little bit more. So the next thing I'm doing is I'm taking a hammer and a punch, and because this panel was really wavy and stretched out real bad from, using all the hammers and dollies and everything, you just kind of wreck the metal before you get it better. So, eventually it'll get nice, but you just gotta have a lot of patience and keep working with it. And you can see where I'm at right now. I ran this in the Planishing hammer, and it smoothed it out a lot, but you can still see that it's kind of a little wavy and whatever. And then what I've been doing is running this in the English wheel. I'm gonna do that a little bit more, and then I'll kind of show you what I'm doing. And then as I'm doing that, then what I'll do is I'll run it the Planishing hammer more, and then I'll go back to the English wheel and until I can get the panel, right where I want it, where I'm happy with it or whatever. And all I'm doing is I'm running this, let's see if I can move you guys up closer. Running this English wheel where it's right up against this edge right here. And then I'm just kind of walking around the edge. You're gonna have to hammer this by hand because you can't get that wheel in there, the upper anvil. But we'll see what happens. And you don't want to run your English wheel real tight. I mean, you can tighten it, but if you run it too tight, then it ends up, messing the panel up this way. So, and you just got to have a lot of patience with it when you're doing this. Run it through here, tighten it, run it through here, and tighten it until it feels like it's, doing something, and you're not just wasting your time. And you got to kind of walk this back and forth, twisting this panel back and forth like this. And a lot of guys will say, oh, you don't want to do that on an English wheel, but sometimes little projects like this, you got to do that. And then you want to run this around the edge as best you can, but you don't want to run this lifted up edge. You don't want to run it over because it'll end up smashing it down. The top wheel will just smash the piss out of it. And try to get long strokes back and forth this way if you can. A lot of the times you can't without running that edge over, so you got to be real careful. And the reason I'm doing this video is there's a lot of stuff on cars that you can build as far as, housings for headlights, or you could do motorcycle gas tanks or whatever. There's a lot of stuff that you can build on an English wheel and a Planishing hammer and a shrinker stump and a beater bag, and just with simple hammers and dollies. You don't have to have a bunch of high-dollar power machines and whatever, and you can still do nice work with cheap stuff that you have in your shop. You don't have to be a millionaire, and you don't have to have $1 million worth of tools. Right there, I just ran that off the top anvil, so I'm gonna have to start over right here. So tighten it back up after you get it in there. And run it for a while, right up against that edge. And now I can feel that it's, as I'm doing this, I can feel that it's straightening out this panel pretty damn good. Starting to lay it down nice now, so panel's almost flat. So then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna run this in the Planishing hammer a little bit. I think what I'm gonna do though is I got a low spot right here. I'm gonna hammer this out on the beater bag and I'll kind of show you guys what I'm doing there. So right here, I got a little bit of a low spot right there. And so I'm gonna hammer this down from this side. And then that's the other thing is, excuse me, this will really help you take a ball bearing and weld it to the end of a hammer, kind of like on a ball peen hammer. And that round edge, you could really make some nice transitions with that. And then I took another ball peen hammer and I cut it like this. And then this one you can get up into that edge, so you can really form that panel like this. When you're hammering on it, you can really get in there, you know, at a 45 degree or whatever, and walk that right around that edge, and it helps a lot. It'll be kind of noisy right now. And I know they say don't hit hammers against each other, but I'm gonna go like this and hit this hammer, but don't be a dumbass, wear safety glasses. And see, now that I've done that, you can see it's bent this panel again. Oops. You can see it's bent this panel again now. So I'm gonna have to go ahead and put it back in the wheel. It's bent like this a little bit, and I'll put it back in the English wheel and then bend it back. But what I'll do is I'll go ahead and work with the wheel for a little bit, and then you know, when I get this a little bit flatter or whatever, I'll show you a little bit more in a minute. So the next thing you're gonna need to walk around this edge right here, to make this edge nice and crisp, what I do is I take some Delrin, and it comes in stock like this, and I got a bunch of Delrin chunks, and I had a buddy of mine, he cut out round and triangles and all kinds of different shapes, and then half rounds and different, you know, radiuses and whatever. And then like these, dang it, like these, what I do is I use these in the corners, and this Delrin doesn't lose its shape or nothing. Stuff is really strong, and it's like a polyurethane or a real hard plastic, but it's soft at the same time. But what I do is I take and run the Delrin pieces just in a pair of vice grips. I need to make myself a dapping tool or a caulking tool. And what that does is that holds this, and then you have a rod on here that you can hit. And I need to make one of those one of these days. But right now I just don't have the time to do it. I got a lot of little projects I want to get done first. But take that 45 edge or whatever it is right here, and you're gonna run it like this. And zoom in on this, or no? No, I can't. Anyways, you're gonna walk that around this edge just with a hammer and dolly, or a hammer and the vice grips that you have in your hand. Anyways, you want to do that. Sorry about the noise. Until you get a nice, crisp, clean edge right here. And then what you want to do is you can start metal finishing this. And what I do to metal finishes, I use files and sanders and whatever, and then I'll put the blue Dicom dye on here. This stuff here, the blue purple looking stuff. And then I'll file everything and clean it up with sandpaper and a DA, a dual orbital sander, and I'll get it where it's metal worked, where it takes off all these scratches and all these imperfections, and it makes it look perfect. But I'll probably do that now and get this kind of cleaned up to see how it looks before I start doing my bends or whatever. We'll see what happens. So after I did used the caulking tool, or they call it a dapping or corking tool, I used a polishing disc that they have, and these are made by Suntex, and that's a sponge polishing disc. And what I did is I used this one first, and these come in a set, and then I use this one second, and then you can, after the second stage or the third stage, you can use these on your Rolex disc, and they have the little sanders, little mini flapper sanders, and that's 40 grit. And this is an old one because the 40 grit would just leave a bunch of scratch marks. And then I went to polish it with the brown Rolex, and then I used the blue Rolex disc on a die grinder, and you can see how it just polishes out super nice, like super smooth. And if you want, I mean, you can get all these sanding scratches and everything out completely where it'll look like a mirror when you're done. But it turned out nice. I'm gonna call it a day. I'm beat. But you can see what it's, you know, that'll be a nice little setup. And then, like I said, when I drill the holes for I'll probably do that after I eat lunch or something. I'll drill the holes for the Clecos and drop the Clecos in here. And then I'm gonna put like a handle or something so I can carry this, and I might do like a magnet or something. I'm not sure yet, but we'll see what happens. Thanks for watching.